Coming up on today's show, Welshman Jack Shore details the inspiring journey of his father and coach.
Your father was very adamant about throwing head kicks.
Hey, let me tell you something about my dad. November 2022, diagnosed with cancer. Finished his chemo treatment 2 weeks ago. You're at the corner of me today. Radiotherapy next week. If he tells me to do something, yeah, I'm gonna do it. That's the toughest plan I know.
Stephen Wonderboy Thompson breaks down his favorite techniques in Signature Series.
Now I want to leave my right hand out there to give my right leg time to get towards the target.
Oh, just like that.
And Cody "No Love" Garbrandt looks back at his title-winning performance at UFC 207.
I was hitting up some nice hard stuff, a little showmanship, let him know that, that one got him, that one hurt him.
No one has ever been able to do this to Dominick Cruz.
In late 2022, news of a cancer diagnosis to his father and coach threatened to derail the career of promising young featherweight Jack Shore. His father, Richard, a former fighter himself, battled through the treatment, inspiring his son to fight on and continue on the path towards their mutual goal of a UFC title. We have a look inside this tight father and son bond in this edition of Unbreakable.
Here is Jack Shore out of Wales. You see his father, Richard Shore, is there in his corner.
Me and my dad, we got a good relationship. I think that's why we've had the success we've had.
Tim again, go ahead. There you go. When I watch this man fight, he reminds me of a young George St. Pierre. This man is so technical, and a lot of it comes from the influence from his father. Oh, there's the tap. Yes. Beautiful work, Jack Shore.
We still got the same relationship now we had before fighting was ever really thought of as a career.
If he tells me to do something, I'm gonna do it. That's the toughest man I know.
Life without him, I wouldn't let that come into my head. I'm not prepared to even think about that.
Expecting two Rottweilers.
Goes with his image as a UFC fighter, doesn't it?
We've probably got two sides to our relationship, me and my dad.
Hi, kids.
We've got the father and son, and then we've got the coach and the fighter relationship.
They ain't afraid of the camera. Go on.
My relationship with Jack is probably a little bit different in dynamic to most father and sons. It can be strained at times just from the career he's in, It's not a natural dynamic to watch your son go out and have a fist fight. I still think of him as my little boy, you know what I mean? These are all the different belts that we've won. The centerpieces of the Cage Warriors. One is Marshman's, one is Jack Shore's. And the first one there is the most important one, boys. That's the one that I won in 2006. I was 30 when I started fighting amateur, and I finished my career at the age of 39 with a couple of professional fights. Started my own gym in 2007.
I know my name is on the board, but when I think of Shore MMA, I don't think, well, that's my gym. I think that's the gym I train at. It's my dad's gym.
Come on, crease your can in, get some space. Something there, Tang.
I dabbled in a lot of sports as a kid, but for whatever reason, jiu-jitsu, boxing, kickboxing, MMA, wrestling, they seem to be the only things I picked up very fast. He probably realised a lot earlier than I did how good I was and the potential I had.
He had a lot of success in jiu-jitsu. I think he had 4 fights as an amateur boxer, won the Welsh title as a novice. And then at 18, we started doing the full unified amateur MMA rule set.
And on fights of the red corner, representing Team UK, Jack Shore!
The IMAF is, for most people, the pinnacle of amateur MMA.
These IMAF tournaments, you could be against a wrestler one day, a grappler the following day, a striker the following day after that. So to actually win a tournament like that, quite a few people approached us about him signing as a professional. But for me, it was always going to be Cage Warriors based on the fact that they've got a pedigree of getting guys into the UFC.
The crowd going absolutely wild.
My childhood dream was to be in the UFC, and I always remember him saying to me, look, this is your proven path to UFC. If you can win a Cage Warriors belt, ultimately that's what's going to come next.
It's over! Jack Shore's the Cage Warriors, bantamweight champion of the world.
People often ask, how am I feeling on the day of the fight? I don't enjoy a single minute of it, I'll be honest.
He's always nervous fight day. You know, I'm warming up and I can see him sneaking off to the toilet to be sick.
It's difficult to explain. I think you've got to be a father with a son in combat sports to even come close to appreciating how difficult it is emotionally to deal with that situation.
Here he goes. Here he goes.
Jack Shore, one of the hottest prospects that we've ever had coming out of Europe. He's got a great team of guys around him, his father in his corner.
The true pro he is, the minute I get in there, all that goes away because he's just like a man on a mission then.
Yes, stand, boy. Nice stand.
It could be 50,000 people in the room and you'll hear him barking instructions over everyone else.
Come with that right as well. Nice, beautiful. Boxing his head off then.
Whatever he says and whatever I hear him instruct me to do, I do it and I listen. And as much as that's down to coach and fighter, I think that stems from father and son as well.
Finish it, under the fence. Double up, let's take him down.
Not only does he want me to win because I'm his fighter, but he doesn't want to see any damage or harm come to me because I'm his son.
Hit the head as well. Is he under?
You can see it when I win, the elation on him and the relief because I've won, because it's over.
Yes!
I'm over the moon, I'm relieved it's over, I'm glad he's not hurt. It's relief more than ecstasy.
Absolutely brilliant.
April 2022, I found a lump in my groin. We were convinced it was a hernia, so I've gone down seeing the specialist, end up having an operation to have the lump removed.
I knew he had this lump. There was no kind of talk of cancer at the time.
While doing the operation, they found other lumps. After several biopsies, it was diagnosed as non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer.
He obviously told me what it was. It was tough. I kind of didn't register at the time on the phone. I was like, you know, what's going on here? This can't be real.
I'd just been diagnosed and it was announced that UFC 286 was coming to London. Jack was pretty much with the mindset, oh, I'm not going to fight until you've had the all clear.
I was like, right, we won't fight. It's not going to work. You ain't going to be able to be in the gym. You're going to be too stressed. And he was like, no. I think if you're in fight camp, it'll give me something to focus on rather than sitting around and feeling sorry for myself.
For the first time in his life, he had to go through periods of several days where I wouldn't be in the gym because obviously I would be bedbound after the chemotherapy. You know, I might be going through the treatment, but psychologically it must be damaging to him as well. He had the weight of the world on his shoulders, but you would never have guessed it.
You drop them in there, son.
The treatment I've been receiving has been at the haematology ward in Neville Hall Hospital.
How have I got the heaviest one? Stronger. Jesus.
As a thank you, we had our local MMA event, which I run, raffle off some items. We've done a collection on the night.
Here's a check for 2,100. All right. When I rang, somebody said about 20, so we've got you 24 bottles of wine and 12 boxes of chocolates, all right? Not that we're assuming nurses are alcoholics or anything.
It gives me a little bit of sense of fulfillment to give back to those guys that day in, day out are working to save lives.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, thank you all very much. All right, thank you. You owe me £1.20 for the bags of life.
It's somewhat liberating for Jack Shore as he moves up to featherweight tonight.
Said he feels the best athletic version of himself yet and is excited to go up against Makwan Amirkhani.
Number one, I wanted to go in there and do him proud.
Tank, listen to the voice.
Like, he's going through all this. Let's put on the performance that he keeps telling me I can put on, and let's just help him then get through the rest of it.
Jack, he's tired already. Come upstairs.
We were looking to go out there and finish this fight.
We have just drilled a head kick for the last 6 weeks and you've not thrown one. He's open for it, Jack. His head is here.
DC, how about Richard Shore giving it to his son Jack after round one?
Yep, and his son goes out there and does exactly what he told him.
Yes, Jack! Yes, Jack! Now he's tired, Jack.
Shore starting to open up.
Oh! Yes!
He's under the neck.
Here we go.
Jack Shore, welcome to the featherweight division. division.
Oh, I gotta cry out.
Jack Shore, your winner by submission tonight.
Just like the old man said, come on, let's throw those head kicks, son.
I don't think anyone would have beat me that night, to be honest. I was just like a man possessed. There's no way I was going to lose in front of him after all he'd been through like the last 2-3 months.
When the old man asks for head kicks, you throw him.
Your father was very adamant about throwing head kicks.
Hey, let me tell you something about my dad. November 2022, diagnosed with cancer. Finished his chemo treatment 2 weeks ago. You're at the corner of me today. Radiotherapy next week. If he tells me to do something, yeah, I'm gonna do it. That's the toughest man I know.
He's dedicated his entire life to me, being a father, coaching me to where I am. It was just my little way of showing him how thankful, not just me, but the team are, that he puts in the effort he does, despite what he's going through.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Jack Shore.
As proud as I am of Jack for what he's achieved in MMA and his sporting career, I'm more proud of what he is as a man, as a human being. I couldn't ask for a better son. Even though we go through tough times, there's a togetherness and a feeling that we're unbreakable.
UFC welterweight contender Stephen Thompson has been known as one of the most unique strikers to ever step foot inside the octagon. With a background in karate and kickboxing, Thompson's distinct fighting style combines remarkable footwork with lightning-fast strikes, enabling him to defeat some of the biggest names in MMA. Wonderboy takes us through some of his most effective techniques in this edition of Signature Series.
Stephen Wonderboy Thompson!
My fighting style is more of a karate style.
Perhaps the most talented karate fighter in MMA.
A style that most people don't see every day.
It's a very odd style to deal with, and he does it as good as anybody alive.
First round TKO! How about it?
Stephen Thompson's karate, that's as high level as it gets.
Most people fight with their hands up, but my hands are down.
Hands low, daring you to enter.
I fight with my feet really wide. I can switch sides.
Constant motion, switching stances.
My opponents don't know when I'm coming in.
His punches come from angles that you don't see.
Us karate guys, we are kicking machines. You should be just as good with your kicks as you are with your hands.
So many different variations of strikes this guy throws at you.
The karate style is what I grew up doing, so it's a part of me. I'm Stephen Thompson, and this is my signature series. My first move, the step-off cross. The step-off cross is a huge part of my arsenal. It's very tricky and it's super basic, which makes it very effective. In the step-off cross, I want to be in what we call a closed stance. His left foot, my left foot. If I'm bouncing, I'm more explosive with my techniques. So the power comes from my legs and my hips. I set it up with a jab. I shuffle in, I close the gap, throwing my jab, and then I step off to the side. As you drop your hands down to see where I went, I'm over here throwing directly at your dome piece.
Oh, he got tagged.
There are 3 spots that I aim for. 1, the jaw. 2, the temple. And then I also aim for the ear. The ear can put you completely out or makes you really wobbly. It puts you in that position where your opponent can come in and finish you off.
He rocked him, Joe. He certainly did. Clemens is hurt. Big strikes.
In my fight with George Masvidal, that was like a perfect scenario to land this technique. Every time I threw my jab, he threw a jab at the same time. What I did was I got a good distance away from my opponent and I started to throw my jab. As soon as I started to throw my jab, he threw his jab and that made it all work. I leaned my head off to the side. I stepped with my back foot, hitting him with the right hand. Down he went.
Oh! Look at that sidestep to set up that right hand.
Next up, the 1-2 head kick combination. The 1-2 head kick is one of my favorite combinations, and we ended up calling this combination the money maker because it brings home the money.
Nice combination by Thompson.
Now, the money maker, super simple, super basic. It's the timing that makes it so effective. Throw the jab, setting up the right hand. Now I wanna leave my right hand out there to give my right leg time to get towards the target. The power is generated in the hips. You gotta have the flexibility in your legs and the hip dexterity to get that leg to come over the shoulder and slightly downward. One of my favorite uses of this combination was in my fight, UFC 143 against Dan Stigen. It was my UFC debut. This guy was throwing the jab, but he was dropping his hand down. He threw the jab, his hand dropped. I decided to throw my jab, my cross, which puts me in good position to throw my roundhouse over the shoulder of my opponent, and he didn't see that coming at all.
Oh, just like that.
As soon as I hit him with that kick, I knew it was over.
Right over the shoulder. He didn't see it coming.
Victorious in his UFC debut.
Finally, the spinning hook kick. The spinning hook kick is a very important weapon to have in your arsenal because that's a technique that most people don't see coming.
Spinning hook kick to the head.
But I don't care if your hand's been up, your opponent still feels the power in that spin hook kick.
Spinning hook kick, boom!
I just spin, rotating my feet, which helps me get my head around to be able to see my target. Once I get my head around and I can see my target, that's when my back leg heads towards the target. So now I chamber the leg up, I extend the leg out, and at the last minute, I'm gonna rip that heel through my target. It could be anywhere on the head. If you hit him with such force, with such hard of a weapon like the back of your heel, it's gonna do damage. One of my most memorable fights using this technique is against Jake Ellenberger. What makes this technique so memorable in this fight was because he was making fun of karate before we even fought. And there was nothing more karate than knocking somebody out with a spin hook kick. First round, he ends up dropping me with the right hand.
Oh! Thompson trying to recover.
And I knew it was time to finish this guy. All I heard was my dad say, "Spin!" My opponent was standing in front of me, putting my target to the right side of his face. I spun, I looked over my back shoulder, I got my head around, and I hit him right in the neck, which dropped him, but it didn't finish him.
Oh! Ellenberger goes down!
I let Jake Ellenberger back up. I heard my dad say spin again. So I got my head around, hitting my opponent with the back of my heel in the temple. Down he went.
Another spinning attack! Another knockdown! Stephen Wonderboy Thompson knocks Jake Ellenberger out cold!
Adds another highlight to his reel. This guy is a poster boy for all traditional martial artists out there.
I'm Stephen Thompson, and that was my signature series.
That's what I'm talking about.
When Cody Garbrandt stepped foot in the octagon at UFC 207, he wasn't just fighting for the bantamweight title. He was fighting for the honor of his team and for the promise he made to wrap the belt around a close friend's waist who triumphed over his own battle with leukemia. Not only did Cody fulfill that promise, but he did it with style, putting on a masterful display of skill in one of the greatest title fight performances in UFC history. We caught up with No Love to revisit his dream-fulfilling night in My Moment.
Coming up in this sport, it was always the goal to be a world champion. I had that dream since I was a kid. That was the light at the end of the tunnel, and some of my darkest times was to keep that fire lit and understand what my purpose was in this life, and that was to be a fighter and be at the highest level.
He is still not even scratching the total surface. His man has massive athleticism. He's only going to continue to get better and better.
Absolutely fearless. There is a new UFC bantamweight contender.
Cody Garbrandt is indeed the next threat to Dominick Cruz's throne. The champion, Dominick Cruz, is the greatest bantamweight that has ever existed.
Dominick Cruz, I was always in the front of my mind, being part of Team Alpha Male, and there's an ongoing rivalry between Team Alpha Male and Dominick Cruz. Uriah submitted him in their first fight in the WEC, and then Dominick, a few years later, beat Uriah for the UFC bantamweight title. So when it was my turn to make it to the pro scene and climb those rankings, get in the UFC, Dominick Cruz was still the champion, I set my goals high to face him one day. Going into the Takeda Mizugaki fight, I knew this was another test to get to Dominick Cruz to fight for a world championship. Ended up knocking him out in 48 seconds.
Beautiful right hand.
Looking for the finish. It's all over.
That's it. Cody Garbrandt, nothing short of spectacular.
After that dominant performance, all roads led to Dominick Cruz in the world championship.
What's up, Dominick Cruz? Where you at? I just knocked him out faster than you. I'm gonna break your jaw. I'm gonna show you who your daddy is for real.
It's two guys that generally probably didn't care for each other too much.
Hey, ask your general for permission before you talk to me, dog. Get another couple tattoos and come talk to me. No, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
I'll come across there right now, dude. You're a room away.
Go ahead, come over here.
Yeah.
Come on, turd. Let's go.
We did our face-off and, kind of got in a little scuffle right there. And I just saw his body movement. I was very confident, but after seeing the face-off and the way he was moving in front of me, that's all I needed to see.
Tonight, it is UFC 207. Co-main event, Dominick Cruz and the young knockout artist, Cody Garbrandt.
I had Maddox Maple with me in the corner back there the whole entire time. Maddox was diagnosed with leukemia at 5 years old. Someone that goes through a horrible disease like that and defeats it, he's always been an inspiration to me.
Remember, whatever happens, half hour after the fight, we're together, share our family, everything's gonna be fine. We have a new belt. How about that?
That walkout was very, very intense, exciting, terrified. I mean, I had all kinds of emotions going through me.
Cody Garbrandt, small-town kid looking to win the belt.
Looking across the cage from Dominick Cruz before the bell sounded in the first round, I saw a battle-tested veteran, a champion heart, a guy that overcame a lot of setbacks, injuries, and was still at the top, so I knew that I had to be on that night. The first 2 rounds, it was great. I was sticking and moving. I cracked him with the left hook, and I pointed at him and said, "I got you," and he was able to be hit. I could see it. He was like, "Wow, okay." He got back on his wheels, started moving. Me being able to, shut down his attack and his rhythms and stopping his rhythm breaks with mine, really had him thrown off. I was hitting him with some nice hard stuff, and just kind of like a little showmanship, let him know that, that one got him, that one hurt him.
Good start against the man who's never lost at 135.
That was a big round for the challenger.
Round 3.
He's not just being fast and hitting hard, but Cody's moving fantastic. His footwork, his timing.
Oh, he got him!
Head kick! Oh, he got tagged hard.
My goodness!
Oh, he tagged him with that right hand.
He's such a tough dude. I mean, he's one of those guys that, I earned so much respect for him.
Dominick is getting busted up here, Mike. They tagged him again. Straight right hand by Cody.
I ended up dropping him 3 or 4 times, and it kind of really motivated me because I'm like, man, this fight couldn't be stopped.
Oh, good count. Oh, he hurt him. He hurt him.
Oh! And again, Garbrandt looking to finish this fight.
No one has ever been able to do this to Dominick Cruz.
I was just in that flow state. I was just having so much fun there. I was dancing and enjoying it, and just, my first title fight against the greatest bantamweight ever.
5th and final round. Will we have a new champion? 5 minutes remain.
Cody has shown ridiculous speed and precision, and he's hurt Dominick multiple times now.
I was confident when the bell rang, and I thought I won, a lot of the rounds, did a lot of the damage, the showmanship. Hearing Bruce Buffer say "and new," it was just a dream come true. I worked so hard, and here it was.
UFC bantamweight champion of the world, Cody Garbrandt. How does that sound?
It sounds amazing. I've been waiting to hear that and visualize that since I was 12 years old, since I first watched some UFC.
I dedicated the belt to Maddox Maple. He won the game of life, never gave up. It was a great achievement for me, but that was icing on the cake. I'm Cody Garbrandt, and that was my moment.
Well, that's all for this episode, but we will see you next time right here on UFC Connected. Thanks for watching.